There is a special kind of cold that exists only when you have nowhere to go. It's not just in the air, it seeps into your bones, a deep chill that a cup of coffee or a warm jacket can't fix. It's the cold of being completely alone in a world full of people. My name is Chloe, and on this Christmas Eve, I was colder than I had ever been. I stood across the street from a beautiful, large house, the kind you see on holiday cards. Warm, golden light spilled from every window. A giant, perfectly decorated Christmas tree twinkled in the front bay window. I could see shadows of people moving inside, laughing, talking. I could almost smell the pine and the roasted turkey. This was my family's house, or it used to be. A year ago, I lived in that house. I was part of that laughter. But then it all fell apart. My father's precious, rare gold pocket watch, a family heirloom, went missing. My older brother, Liam, was quick to point the finger. He told our parents he saw me taking it, that I was probably going to sell it to pay off some questionable friends he claimed I had. It was a lie, a complete and utter lie. But Liam was the golden child, the responsible one, the heir to our father's business. I was just the artistic, dreamy younger sister. My parents believed him. The fight was brutal. My father called me a thief. My mother cried, saying she didn't know who I was anymore. And Liam just stood there with a quiet, smug look on his face. They told me to leave and not come back until I told the truth and returned the watch. The watch that I never took. For a year, I had been on my own. My small savings ran out quickly. Friends turned away, not wanting to get involved in family drama. I couldn't get a good job without a reference or a permanent address. I was sleeping in shelters, sometimes in the 24-hour library, living on the kindness of strangers and the little money I made from selling my sketches on the street. But tonight, on Christmas Eve, the pull of that warm house was a physical force. Maybe it was the memory of what we once were. Maybe it was just the desperate, foolish hope that they would see me and remember I was their daughter. I didn't plan to go in. I just wanted to look, to feel, for just a moment, close to that world again. I pulled the thin, worn coat I'd bought from a thrift store tighter around me and crossed the street. I stood at the edge of their perfectly manicured lawn, hidden partly by a large oak tree, just watching the party through the window. I saw my mother, smiling as she handed a plate of cookies to a guest. I saw my father, laughing with a group of men. And I saw Liam, holding a glass of wine, holding court in the center of the room. The perfect son. My heart ached. This was my family, and I was a ghost watching them from the outside. I don't know how long I stood there, but a movement at the front door made me freeze. It opened, and Liam stepped out, pulling his coat on, probably to see off a guest. He turned, and his eyes scanned the yard, and they landed right on me. For a single second, we just stared at each other. His face showed surprise, then confusion, and then a slow, cruel recognition. A smile spread across his face, not a warm, welcoming smile, a predator's smile. He turned back to the open door and called out, his voice loud and clear, cutting through the festive noise. "Hey, everyone, look who decided to join us. We have a special, uninvited guest." And just like that, the fragile hope I had been clinging to shattered into a million pieces. The party spilled out onto the front porch. My parents, their friends, our relatives, all of them, holding their wine glasses and fancy cocktails, looking at me like I was a stray animal that had wandered into their perfect garden. I stood frozen on the lawn, wanting to run, but my feet were rooted to the spot. The cold I felt before was nothing compared to the ice that now filled my veins. My father's face was a mask of stern disapproval. My mother was pale with shock and embarrassment. But it was Liam who took center stage. He walked down the porch steps and onto the lawn, stopping a few feet from me. He made a show of looking me up and down, taking in my old coat, my worn-out shoes, the backpack that held everything I owned. "Chloe," he said, his voice dripping with fake sympathy. "Look at you. I hardly recognized you. You're so thin." He turned to the audience on the porch, playing to the crowd. "She's been living on the streets, you know," he announced, as if sharing a fascinating piece of gossip. After she stole from our family, she just couldn't handle the honest life, I suppose. A gasp rippled through the crowd. My face burned with a shame so deep I thought I might disappear. Liam, that's enough, my mother said weakly, but her voice was lost in the spectacle. It's a tragedy, really, Liam continued, shaking his head. He took a step closer to me, his voice dropping but still loud enough for everyone to hear. You had everything, a family who loved you, a home, and you threw it all away for what? Some cheap thrills, and now look at you. He paused, letting his eyes sweep over my shivering form one more time. Then he delivered the final, crushing blow. You're just homeless. The words hung in the cold air, sharp and final. You're just homeless. He wasn't just stating a fact. He was defining me, erasing my name, my history, my soul, and replacing it with a single, pitiful label. I saw the looks on the faces of the party guests. Pity, disgust, curiosity. Not a single one of them saw me as Chloe. They saw a problem, a cautionary tale, a homeless girl. My father didn't say a word. He just stood there, his arms crossed, confirming Liam's verdict with his silence. That was the moment the last piece of my heart broke. The love I had for my family, the hope for reconciliation, the pain of their betrayal, it all crystallized into something new, something hard, something sharp, something dangerous. Liam reached into his pocket and pulled out a crisp $100 bill. He held it out to me, not with kindness, but with a flourish, like he was a king bestowing alms upon a beggar. Here, he said, his voice loud again for the crowd. Merry Christmas. Go get yourself a warm meal and a hotel room, but don't come back here. We can't have you causing another scene. I looked at the money in his hand. I looked at the faces of my family. I looked at my brother's triumphant, cruel eyes. I didn't take the money. I didn't say a word. I simply turned around, and I walked away. I walked away from the warm light. I walked away from the laughter. I walked away from my family. With every step, the cold inside me was replaced by a burning, focused fire. The ghost they had created was about to come back to haunt them. He was right about one thing. I was homeless. But he was wrong about everything else. I wasn't broken. I wasn't defeated. I was furious. And in 30 minutes, my revenge would begin. I didn't go to a shelter. I didn't look for a hotel. I walked with a purpose I hadn't felt in a year. The humiliation was a fuel, burning away my despair and leaving behind a clear, cold determination. Liam thought he had won. He thought his little performance had put me in my place forever. He had no idea he had just declared war on the one person who knew all his secrets. Because I knew something, a secret Liam had forgotten he'd ever told me. 2 years ago, when he was drunk and bragging after a successful business deal, he'd told me how he'd secured a major client for our father's company, Sterling Solutions. He didn't win them with talent or hard work. He had hacked into the computer system of their main competitor, stolen their pricing strategy and client list, and used that information to undercut them and seal the deal. It was industrial espionage. It was illegal, and it was the foundation of his current success within the company. At the time, I was shocked. I told him it was wrong. He just laughed and said, "That's how the game is played, little sister. You have to be willing to do what others won't." I had pushed it out of my mind, not wanting to believe my brother was capable of that. But now, I held onto that memory like a key. My revenge wouldn't be emotional. It wouldn't be a screaming match or a tearful plea. It would be a quiet, systematic dismantling of the lie he had built his life upon. But I had a problem. I had no proof, just the memory of a drunken confession. I needed evidence, and I needed a plan. I still had one advantage Liam didn't know about: my old laptop. It was ancient and slow, but it worked. And I had a talent he'd always mocked me for. I was good with computers. Really good. It was a hobby I'd loved, something my parents saw as a waste of time compared to Liam's real business studies. In my backpack next to my sketchbook was that laptop. And in the pocket of my coat, I had a cheap, pay-as-you-go smartphone. It was my lifeline to the world. I found a quiet, open all-night cafe with free Wi-Fi. I bought the cheapest coffee they had, found a corner table, and got to work. My first target wasn't Liam. It was the client he had stolen, a company called Apex Manufacturing. I needed to find someone there who might listen. I searched for news articles, press releases, anything from around the time Liam secured their business. I found it, a small article in a trade magazine. Apex Manufacturing switches to Sterling Solutions after competitor data breach. The competitor was a firm called Innovate Corp. The article quoted Apex's CEO, a man named Mr. Davis, saying they were disappointed by the security lapse at Innovate Corp, but pleased with Sterling Solutions. Superior offer. I had my starting point. Next, I created a new, encrypted email account. I couldn't just email Mr. Davis from a homeless girl's account with a wild story. It would be dismissed as the rantings of a disgruntled, unstable person. I needed to be someone else. I needed to be a ghost in the machine. I spent the next few hours crafting a perfect, anonymous email. I used formal, professional language. I presented myself as a concerned industry insider with knowledge of the data breach 2 years ago. I didn't make wild accusations. I simply laid out the facts, the timing, the specific information that was stolen, the direct link to Sterling Solutions, subsequent offer to Apex. I suggested, very carefully, that the breach at Innovate Corp might not have been an accident, that it might have been orchestrated to benefit a competitor. I ended the email with a simple line. I suggest you review the security logs from that period and consider the origin of the attack. The answers may surprise you. I attached a file with technical details I remembered Liam boasting about, the type of malware used, the entry point into Innovate Corp's server. Enough to be credible, but not enough to trace back to me. I took a deep breath. This was it, the first domino. I hit send. The email vanished into the digital ether, on its way to the CEO of Apex Manufacturing. It was a long shot. He might delete it. He might ignore it. But if he didn't, if he took it seriously, the game would be on. I looked at the time on my phone. Only 30 minutes had passed since I'd walked away from my family's house. Liam was probably still at the party, laughing, celebrating his perfect life. He had no idea that his world was already beginning to crack. The next few days were a strange limbo. I continued my life of survival, but now with a secret purpose. Every time I found a Wi-Fi signal, I would check the anonymous email account, my heart pounding with a mixture of fear and anticipation. Silence. Maybe my plan had failed. Maybe I was just a delusional girl sitting in a cafe, dreaming of a revenge that would never come. But on the third day, there was a reply. It wasn't from Mr. Davis himself. It was from the head of IT security at Apex Manufacturing. The subject line was simple. Ray, inquiry regarding 2022 data incident. My hands trembled as I opened it. The email was cautious, professional, but I could read the tension between the lines. They had received my information and had immediately launched an internal review. Their initial findings were concerning. The breach at Innovate Corp had indeed been a targeted attack, and the digital fingerprints, while carefully hidden, seemed to point toward a specific IP address range associated with our city. They were asking for a secure, anonymous chat. They wanted to know more. A wild, fierce joy surged through me. It was working. Over the next week, I became a shadowy consultant. Using my knowledge and my secure connection, I guided their investigation. I never revealed my identity. I was just Ghost. I gave them just enough information to follow the trail, but always from a distance. Meanwhile, I started phase 2 of my plan. Liam's humiliation had been public. My response would be the same. I created a simple, clean website and social media profiles for a new entity. The Sterling Truth. I didn't post anything yet. I just let the accounts sit there, empty and mysterious, a blank space waiting for a story. I also began digging into our family's company, Sterling Solutions. I used my knowledge of the family and the business to look for other cracks. Were there other clients Liam had secured through shady means? Were there financial discrepancies? I didn't find anything as dramatic as the Apex case, but I found a pattern, a tendency to overpromise and underdeliver. A few online reviews from smaller clients who felt cheated. It was all ammunition. 2 weeks after Christmas, the bomb finally dropped. I was in the library, checking the news on a public computer, when I saw the headline on a major business news site. Apex Manufacturing terminates contract with Sterling Solutions, citing unethical procurement. The article was careful, but it mentioned a recently uncovered data security incident that had cast serious doubt on the integrity of Sterling Solutions' business practices. I leaned back in the chair, a slow, cold smile spreading across my face. This was just the beginning. That evening, I posted my first message on the Sterling Truth social media accounts. It was a single sentence, posted simultaneously on Twitter and LinkedIn. When you build your empire on stolen ground, don't be surprised when the earth shakes. Sterling Truth. I tagged Sterling Solutions, Apex Manufacturing, and several major business news outlets. Then I waited. The post didn't go viral immediately, but it got noticed. People in the industry started sharing it. They were curious. What did it mean? The next day, Sterling Solutions' stock price took a noticeable dip. I could imagine the chaos in my father's office, the frantic phone calls, the panic. My phone buzzed. It was a number I hadn't seen in over a year, my mother. I let it go to voicemail. An hour later, a text from my father. "Chloe, we need to talk, call me." I didn't reply. They could feel the ground shaking, and they had no idea who was causing the earthquake. The ghost was no longer watching from outside the window. The ghost was inside the house. The pressure built over the next 48 hours. The business news channels were now running full segments on the mystery surrounding Sterling Solutions. The Sterling Truth account gained thousands of followers, all waiting for the next post. I gave it to them. I didn't reveal the Apex evidence. That was for the official investigation. Instead, I posted the negative client reviews I'd found. I posted links to old articles questioning some of Sterling Solutions' business practices. I created a narrative of a company that cared more about winning than about ethics. I was chipping away at their reputation, brick by brick. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. My mother, my father, even a number I recognized as my aunt's. Their messages grew more desperate. "Chloe, please, this is destroying your father. Whatever you're doing, stop it. We're your family. You're going to ruin us." Good, I thought. Let them feel a fraction of the ruin I felt. But the call I was waiting for finally came. It was from Liam. I let it ring 3 times before I answered. I didn't say anything. I just put the phone to my ear and waited. "Chloe," his voice was tight, strained. All the confidence and mockery from Christmas Eve was gone. "It's you, I know it's you." I remained silent. "This Sterling Truth nonsense, the posts, you're behind it." He was trying to sound angry, but I could hear the fear underneath. "You need to stop, now." "Why?" I asked, my voice calm and flat. "I'm just homeless, remember? What could a homeless girl possibly do to the great Liam Sterling?" He sucked in a sharp breath. "I know you're angry about Christmas." "Angry?" I let out a cold, quiet laugh. "You humiliated me in front of our entire family. You defined my entire existence with one cruel sentence. You didn't just make me angry, Liam. You made me your enemy." "What do you want?" he snapped. "Money, is that it? Fine, I'll give you money, just tell me how much to make you go away." He still didn't get it. He thought everything could be solved with a transaction. $100 bill on the lawn, a payoff to his troublesome sister. "I don't want your money," I said softly. "I want the truth." "What truth?" "The truth about the Apex deal," I said. "The truth about the data you stole from Innovate Corp." The line went so quiet I thought he'd hung up. Then a whispered, terrified curse. You have no proof." "Don't I said. "Why do you think Apex dropped you? They have proof. I gave it to them." You couldn't have." "You told me, Liam," I said, my voice like steel. 2 years ago, when you were drunk and proud of yourself, you told me everything. You bragged about it. You thought I was too stupid to understand or too weak to do anything about it. You were wrong." I could hear his ragged breathing on the other end of the line. The golden boy was crumbling. "Chloe, please," he begged, his voice breaking. "If this gets out, I'll go to jail. The company will be destroyed. Dad will lose everything." "You should have thought of that before you called me just homeless," I said. "You built your life on a lie, and now I'm just the one who's making sure everyone sees the foundation." "What do I have to do?" he pleaded, truly desperate now. "Just tell me what to do." I had him exactly where I wanted him. "There's a family meeting," I said. "Tomorrow at the house. You will be there. Mom and Dad will be there. And you will tell them everything, every single lie, starting with the watch." "The watch, Chloe, You will tell them you took it," I interrupted, my voice leaving no room for argument. "You will tell them you framed me. You will tell them about Apex. You will get on your knees and you will apologize for every cruel word you said to me on Christmas Eve. You will look them in the eye and you will confess." "And if I do," he whispered. "Then I disappear," I said. "The sterling truth account vanishes. The evidence I have goes into a digital vault, never to be seen again. Apex has what they need, but I won't take it any further. You'll have to face the business consequences, but you might stay out of jail. And our parents, they'll know the truth." "And if I do?" he asked, though I think he already knew the answer. "If you don't," I said calmly, "then tomorrow I release the full, detailed story to every major news outlet in the country. Your name, your photo, the technical data. Your life, as you know it, will be over." I let the silence hang between us, a heavy, final weight. "The choice is yours, brother," I said. "Your freedom or your pride." Then I hung up. The ball was in his court. And for the first time in a very long time, I was the one in control. Walking into my family's house the next day felt like stepping onto a battlefield. The Christmas decorations were gone, and the air was thick with a tense, heavy silence. The warm, festive home of my memories was now just a cold, beautiful shell. My parents were sitting in the living room. My mother looked like she hadn't slept. My father looked older, his face grim. And Liam was standing by the fireplace, his shoulders slumped, his face pale and defeated. He couldn't even look at me. I stood in the doorway, still in my old coat. I didn't sit down. I was no longer a guest in this house. "Chloe," my mother began, her voice trembling. "What is this all about? Liam said, he said you've been threatening the family business." I looked at Liam. Did I threaten Liam, or did I offer you a choice? My father stood up, his voice booming in the quiet room. "Enough of this. What is going on? These lies online, the lost client, and now this meeting. Explain yourselves." Liam flinched. He looked from our father's angry face to my calm, waiting one. He saw no way out. The trap had closed. He took a shaky breath, and then he began to speak. His voice was a broken whisper at first, then it grew louder, filled with shame and regret. He started with the watch. He confessed that he had taken it, that he had needed money to cover a bad investment, and he had framed me because he knew our parents would believe him over me. My mother let out a small, pained cry, her hand flying to her mouth. My father stared at Liam, his expression one of pure, uncomprehending shock. "But why?" my mother whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Why would you do that to your sister?" Liam didn't answer her. He just kept going, as if he had to get it all out or he would collapse. He told them about the Apex deal. He told them about hacking Innovate Corp. He laid out the entire, sordid story of his lies and his crimes. When he finished, the room was utterly silent. The only sound was my mother's quiet sobbing. My father slowly sank back into his chair. He looked from Liam to me, and for the first time, I saw something in his eyes other than disappointment. I saw horror. I saw grief. I saw the devastating realization that he had been wrong, that he had cast out his innocent daughter and championed a liar and a criminal. "All this time," my father said, his voice a hollow echo, "all this time we thought, and you, Chloe," he looked at me, his eyes begging for a forgiveness he didn't deserve. "You were telling the truth." I didn't say anything. I just let the truth sit there in the room, raw and undeniable. Liam finally looked at me, his eyes red raw. "I'm sorry, Chloe," he choked out. "For the watch, for Christmas, for everything. I was jealous of you, of your talent, your spirit. I was always so desperate to be the best, to be perfect for Dad, and I destroyed everything." He was broken, truly broken. The performance was over. This was the real Liam stripped bare. My father put his head in his hands. "My company, my reputation, my family, it's all built on a lie." I looked at the three of them, the broken golden boy, the weeping mother, the shattered father. I had gotten what I wanted. The truth was out. I was vindicated. But the victory felt hollow. It didn't warm me. It didn't fill the empty space inside me. I had forced them to see me, but I wasn't sure I wanted to be seen by them anymore. Without a word, I turned and walked out of the living room. I walked out of the house. I didn't look back. The ghost had finally been seen, but she was still a ghost, just a different kind. I didn't destroy Liam. I kept my word. The sterling truth accounts were deleted. The evidence was locked away, but the consequences happened anyway. The story of the data theft leaked, as these things often do. Sterling Solutions lost several more major clients. The stock price never fully recovered. Liam was forced to resign from the company. He faced a massive lawsuit from Innovate Corp and a federal investigation. He would spend the next few years fighting to stay out of prison. My father tried to rebuild the company's reputation, but the shine was gone. The self-made empire was tarnished. My parents tried to reach out to me. They called, they emailed, they sent letters, begging me to come home, to let them make it right. But some cracks can't be filled. Some broken things can't be unbroken. I had gotten my revenge, but I realized that revenge isn't about fixing the past. It's about closing the door on it so you can finally walk away. I used the small amount of money I had saved, and with the skills I'd honed during my revenge, my talent with computers, my strategic mind, I landed an entry-level job at a small tech startup. They didn't care about my past or my family name. They cared about what I could do. I worked hard. I saved my money. Within a year, I was able to rent a small, clean studio apartment. It wasn't a mansion. It didn't have a giant Christmas tree, but it was mine. The first thing I bought was a simple sketchbook and a set of pencils. One evening, close to Christmas, there was a knock on my door. It was my mother. She stood in the hallway, holding a small, wrapped gift. She looked older, sadder. "May I come in?" she asked softly. I hesitated, then stepped aside. She looked around my small, simple apartment. It was tidy. There was a plant on the windowsill. My sketches were taped to the wall. It was a home. "It's nice," she said, her voice full of emotion. She handed me the gift. I opened it. Inside was my father's gold pocket watch. "He wants you to have it," she said. He said it should have been yours all along. That you're the one with the integrity, the one who deserved it." I held the heavy, cold watch in my hand. It was just an object. It didn't hold the power over me that it once had. "I don't need this," I said quietly. "I know," my mother replied, "but he needs you to have it." We talked for a little while. It was awkward and painful, but it was a start. A tiny, fragile thread connecting two broken worlds. After she left, I placed the watch on my small kitchen table. It was no longer a symbol of my betrayal. It was a reminder of what happens when you value pride over people, when you build walls instead of bridges. My revenge didn't bring my family back. It didn't give me back the year I lost. But it did something else, something more important. It gave me back to myself. I learned that your home isn't the house you live in. It's the person you are when you're alone. It's the strength you find when you have nothing left to lose. And it's the peace you make with your past, not by forgetting it, but by refusing to let it define you. They called me just homeless, but they were wrong. I was just human, and in the end, that was always enough.